Everyone, welcome back to the KEMPIRE Daily YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and also to hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of my uploads. In today's video, I want to talk about interviewing. And when I say interviewing, if you started a podcast, if you are trying to become an interviewer or a YouTuber or whatever it may be, I want to talk about just some basic skills. And I can do a whole series in regards to how to become a better interviewer. But I thought it'd be great to just share my first important key goal in regards to having the best interview of your life. And that's interviewing for a job, that's interviewing celebrities, someone on your podcast, whatever it may be. I think this rule is important. First of all, let me give you a little bit of background on me and why you should listen to me. The reason why you should listen to me is that I've interviewed hundreds of celebrities, people behind the scenes, hundreds of people for our KEMPIRE Radio platform. And if you're not subscribed, check it out, head on over there. I've been doing it for over 10 years. And some of the people that I've interviewed include people from Grammy Award-winning singers like Brandy, Melanie Fiona, Danity Kane, Brian McKnight, so many people. But also, can't forget, I also included TV icon, entrepreneur, philanthropist, all-around icon and legend, Oprah Winfrey. And the Oprah Winfrey interview is important because during my conversation with her, it was spontaneous. It wasn't planned. We didn't have an official setup. It was at the height of the beginning of social media, where we were talking about the struggles that her own network was having. Also, the conversation people were having in regards to her having the Kardashians on her platform. So she actually responded to us and called in. Go figure. But this was an interview I think I've been preparing for my entire life. So being prepared for that opportunity, I could have done. I could do it now if I had to. And I probably would ask her completely different questions. But I was really more focused on having a conversation. That is always my goal when I have someone on the show, because the question, answer, the very typical interview that a lot of people do, which is important depending on the platform, because a lot of fans and supporters want to get basic information. But even if you're trying to get basic information, I feel it should be conversational. You should feel like you're watching people have a conversation as opposed to an interview. And you'd be surprised. And I've heard so many other interviewers say that this is their goal. And some, because they don't own their platform, they're forced to ask certain questions. But if you're starting a podcast or YouTube, or you just like interviewing people, your goal should always be have a conversation. There are certain interviews that I do. I don't necessarily have to do a lot of preparation. But if you're going to have someone like Oprah, my preparation has been years of just following her career, also understanding what I want to talk to her about, because during that particular situation, we were talking about the Kardashians. We were talking about the OWN network and why, what were the struggles of the OWN network in the very beginning? Because this was at the very beginning of OWN. So we talked about that. The next morning, she actually tweeted me back and said she was impressed. I could die now. She was impressed because I kept the flow of the conversation. I knew what I was talking about. And I kept the flow. And that is always the goal. Am I the best interviewer? No. Is Oprah the best interviewer? One of the best, definitely. But I definitely know a few interviewers that I really enjoy. People like Howard Stern. I know Howard Stern has a very legendary shock jock, persona. But if you followed some of Howard Stern's most popular interviews, not even just his most popular interviews, some of his really great interviews, you see that he is definitely one of our most incredible interviewers because he's prepared. He knows what he's talking about. He brings up things that research that he's done. So doing interviews, I think you need to know what you're doing. You need to know who you're talking to. You need to do research. But as I said to you before, do I do research all the time on interviews? For the most part, I do on some level. some people more than others, especially if it's been someone you've wanted to have on your show for a very long time, or if it's been a long time since you interviewed them. You know, like someone like Brandy that's been on the show, I can interview, you know, not doing a lot of research, but there are things that she said previously in, you know, this recent promotion of her album that I would want to elaborate on or have a conversation about. But the last interview that I did with Brandy, I really focused that on being a conversation. And every interview since then, you know, before I even have interviews now, I speak with them beforehand, trying to find out what is their intention. And one of the popular questions I used to ask in the early days of KEMPIRE Radio, what is one question that you wish people would ask you? And the reason why I asked that question is because, as I said before, a lot of interviews are basic. A lot of them are like question, answer, a lot of the same stuff. And I get it. There's a reason for that. Not everyone is watching every interview that someone's on, so they do have to cover some of the same questions. But like you and myself, if you have your own platform, there are questions that you have, but there are also things that the person that you're interviewing, they have their own intention and their own mindset in regards to what they want to talk about, what they want to promote. So you always want to keep that in mind, but you also have to understand keeping a conversation means that the person that you're interviewing has to feel comfortable. And the way that you make them feel comfortable is by having your own intention be have a conversation, as opposed to, oh, I need to get something clickable. I need to get that, you know, thing that's going to go viral. I got to get into, you know, on some level you can do that. However, that will naturally come by having a conversation, because the person that you're interviewing their walls will slowly come down. Will it come down immediately? Will it come down at all? It really depends on the person. But you'd be surprised that some of my best interviews aren't necessarily the celebrities. It's the real people that really share their lives with us. And I think that's why so many people connect with talk shows that aren't celebrity driven, that's not a celebrity host. That's what made Oprah as big as she was, because before she did these big celebrity interviews, it was all about the people. And I think that's part of the reason why Tamron Hall is doing so well with her talk show as currently on. But anyways, that is the first rule for me. And I'm going to do more of this with you guys. But the first one has to be your intention, have a conversation. If that's what you want to do, if you're trying to become a better interviewer, have a conversation, do your research, especially if it's someone that you've been wanting to interview. And don't wait until you get the interview to do the research. Because like I said before, my interview with Oprah, last minute, it was in the second that we had that opportunity. So I had to stay focused on what we were talking about and why she was actually calling in, because she wanted to address that issue. And then while I had her, I was like, well, let's talk about the OWN network. Let's talk about, you know, the struggles that have been reported. But it's great to see that since that interview, I think like 8 years ago, she has really built the OWN network. And anything that you're trying to build, be it a podcast, a YouTube channel, it's going to be maybe a slow start, or maybe it'll be a quick start, and then you'll have a lull. If it's something that you want to do, stay with it. But that's my first rule in becoming an ultimate, great, fantastic interviewer. And you're going to get better only by doing it more and more. Stay tuned for more of videos like this in the future. Don't forget again to follow me on social media, to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss my next video in regards to how to become a better interviewer. Let's talk about it in the comments.